On Christmas Eve, in front of the family, my daughter-in-law tossed my wrapped gift into the fire. Less junk for you to leave behind when you die. Watched it burn. By morning, she learned what else had gone up in flames, her claim to my estate. I had spent 3 hours that afternoon wrapping it, choosing the perfect silver paper with tiny snowflakes, tying the burgundy ribbon just the way my mother had taught me 60 years ago. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. Inside was a hand-knitted sweater for my grandson, Tyler, soft blue wool that matched his eyes with his initials embroidered on the front. It had taken me 2 months to finish. Amanda stood by the fireplace with that satisfied smirk she wore whenever she thought she'd won something. The firelight danced across her face, making her look almost demonic. The rest of the family sat frozen around my dining room table, forks halfway to their mouths, as if someone had pressed pause on Christmas Eve dinner. Amanda, that was unnecessary. My son, Michael, finally said, but his voice lacked any real conviction. He never stood up to her, not really, not when it mattered. Was it? Amanda turned to face the table, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Your mother brings the same cheap gifts every year. Hand-knitted this homemade that it's embarrassing. Michael Tyler doesn't need more grandmother crafts cluttering his room. I felt something cold settle in my chest, but I kept my face perfectly neutral around the table. My daughter, Sarah, avoided eye contact. Her husband Tom studied his plate intensely, and their teenage children looked mortified, but said nothing. This was how it always went. Amanda would strike, and everyone would pretend it wasn't happening. The sweater was beautiful. Mom, Sarah whispered, finally, finding some courage was being the key word. Amanda laughed, settling back into her chair like a queen who had just executed a peasant. Now Tyler won't have to pretend to like it. 8-year-old, Tyler looked confused and hurt. I wanted to see what Grandma made me. You'll thank me when you're older. Amanda said, cutting another piece of turkey with unnecessary force. When you understand quality over quantity, as if love could be measured in price tags. I reached for my wine glass with a steady hand, though inside I was thinking about the phone call I'd made 3 weeks ago, the conversation with my lawyer, Margaret Chen, where I'd made some very specific changes to my will, changes that Amanda knew nothing about. You know what I think is embarrassing? I said quietly, and the entire table went silent. I rarely spoke up during Amanda's performances. I think it's embarrassing when someone mistakes cruelty for sophistication. Amanda's fork clinked against her plate. Excuse me. You heard me. I took a sip of wine, savoring the moment. I think it's embarrassing when someone burns a gift that was made with love in front of the child it was meant for and then tries to justify it as doing him a favor. The silence stretched thick between us. Michael cleared his throat nervously. Mom, let's not make this into something bigger than it needs to be. Oh, it's already big enough. I said, looking directly at Amanda. Some things can't be taken back once they're done. Amanda's eyes narrowed. She sensed something different in my tone, though she couldn't quite place what it was. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled, the kind of smile I'd perfected during 40 years of marriage and 30 years of widowhood, the smile that revealed nothing but promised everything. It means actions have consequences, dear. Sometimes we don't see them right away, but they're always there, waiting. Are you threatening me? Amanda's voice pitched higher, that shrill tone she got when she felt cornered. Threatening. I laughed softly. Goodness no, I'm simply observing that life has a way of teaching us lessons when we need them most. Tyler squirmed in his chair. Can we have dessert now? I made cookies with Mommy, of course, sweetheart, I said, standing up to clear the plates. As I reached for Amanda's dish, she grabbed my wrist. We're not done talking. She hissed under her breath. I looked down at her manicured fingers wrapped around my thin wrist, then met her eyes with a gaze that could have frozen hell itself. Actually, we are. We've been done for quite some time, I just hadn't told you yet. Something flickered across her face, then a shadow of uncertainty. She released my wrist and forced a laugh. You're being dramatic. Eleanor, it was just a sweater. It was just a sweater. I agreed, gathering the dishes. With practiced efficiency, just like you're just a daughter-in-law, the words hung in the air like smoke from the fireplace. I could feel everyone processing what I'd said, trying to decode the hidden meaning, but only I knew how literal that statement would become by morning in the kitchen. As I ran water over the plates, I could hear Amanda's voice rising in the dining room, trying to regain control of the narrative. She was telling everyone how ungrateful I was, how difficult I'd become since Richard died, how someone needed to have a serious talk with me about my attitude. Let her talk in 12 hours, she'd learned that talking was all she had left. Sarah appeared in the doorway, dish towel in hand. Mom, are you okay? You seem different. Tonight, I handed her a plate to dry. I'm fine, honey, better than fine. Actually, I feel clearer than I have in years. What you said in there about actions having consequences. Yes. Sarah hesitated, then lowered her voice. Has Amanda been worse lately? Tom and I have noticed things, the way she talks to you, the way she acts like this is her house instead of yours. This was my house, the house Richard and I had built together in 1987, where we'd raised our children, where he died in my arms 3 years ago, the house I'd legally transferred to Michael 2 years ago because Amanda convinced him that estate planning was important, the house where I still lived, Still paid utilities, still maintained everything, while being treated like an unwelcome guest. People show you who they are. Sarah, it just takes time to really see it. Sarah nodded slowly. I should have said something earlier about the sweater, about how she treats you. You're saying something now, that's what matters. But even as I said it, I knew it was too late for words. The damage had been done months ago, years ago, in 1,000 small cuts and casual cruelties. Tonight was just the final straw, the last insult piled on top of an already unbearable mountain of disrespect when everyone finally left after the forced hugs and hollow promises to do this again. Soon, I sat in my living room surrounded by the debris of Christmas Eve, wrapping paper scattered across the carpet, empty wine glasses on every surface, the lingering smell of turkey and disappointment hanging in the air.